Our the opening sequence of 2000 film Platform, directed and written by the filmmaker we're going to discuss today, Zhangke. If you've ever come across any Chinese films, I'm sure you've probably heard of Jia, who has always depicted the life of marginalized lower class in his hometown Fenyang County in Shanxi Province. As a person who grew up and now lives in Shanxi Province, it's interesting and meaningful for me to develop an alternative understanding of my hometown through Jia's lens. The three films I'm going to make arguments about are all setting and taken in Shanxi. Platform, Xiaowu, Ashes Purest White. In this video, I will draw on Jia's distinctive approach of using decayed colors and how colors help shaping the diasporic nostalgia he presents to the audience.
Let's jump back to Platform, original Chinese title Zhantai. Platform focuses on government-owned local troupe of young performers in small town Fenyang, having big dreams of making art and exploring the world, while gradually being pushed back by the reality.
Platform is Jia's first film adapting his typical narration style, stories alongside with long time span. He then used this strategy in his other films. For example, 2014's Mountains May Depart and 2018's Ashes Purest White.
Platform is one such example of a cinematic rendition of unofficial history through personal memories, set by Jia, quoted by Xiaoping Wang in 2019.
Notably, the music appeared in the chasing train scene is called Platform. It was a popular hit in 1987's China during opening up. Fang investigated in his 2008 Journal of China's Reform and Opening Up. He argued that China's reform and opening up have lasted 40 years, from 1978 to 2018, which was the period China's economic growth influenced every Chinese lifestyle. That was when the import of Hong Kongese pop culture and American pop culture changed young people's leisure activities. Through Jia's lens, the viewers can tell he had a specific obsession of green and blue. The opening and film watching scenes of Platform were presented in a visual pleasing composition, in which the iconic green and blue uniforms of Chinese working laborers were showed. Gives more information. Shanxi Province is located at the north of China, where people spend long and cold winter. The outfits are mostly common during 2000s for workers in Shanxi and the north middle part of China. These types of heavy cotton water jackets can effectively prevent freezing wind when workers must work in the field. The jackets are also inspired by Mao suits and communist military uniforms, which contain political importance. Thus, they became a symbol of certain times. Besides green and blue, Jia seemingly adores the color red. The character Zhangke always wears red in the first half of the film, in which she hasn't experienced the most serious hurt in her life. She was accused of being sexually active and gets pregnant. Red represents danger and tension in Western culture, but red is a color of fortune in China. Jia combines the two conceptions of red, using Zhangke as a reflection. Zhangke is a brave, sincere, and progressive woman. However, a person like her still chose to silently leave her lover, friends, and theater stage. When Zhangke with her lover Zhang Jun, her red outfits symbolize their passionate love, but when their feelings get more intense, red signals the coming suffering. Just like Xiaoping Wang argued in his film analysis, the romance in Platform embodies the conflict between collectiveness and individualism. As Toom stated in his 2016 book about colors reproduction on screen, daylight is the most significant element of colors illumination. In contemporary cinematography, daylight consists of various sources of lighting rather than simplest natural daylight in order to provide more haptic visual experiences for the audience. Xiaowu is Jia's first film. After the release of Xiaowu, Jia received worldwide recognition that supported his filmmaking career. Xiao Wu is a monumental work for Jia and for the filmography of Shanxi province. The film is about a leader of a group of pickpockets, Xiao Wu, who undergoes several shifts in his life. The film sets the transfer of the sovereignty of Hong Kong as a background factor. In this sequence, Xiao Wu doesn't get the wedding invitation of Xiao Yong, who used to be one of his fellow pickpockets but now a successful businessman. Xiao Wu goes to Xiao Yong's place asking for a reason. Jia used a nearly contradictory composition. The yellowish lighting, which I will mention in next film, helps separating the two old friends apart. Xiao Yong sits on the left, wearing a beige pullover. Xiao Wu sits on the right, wearing a gray jacket. The color design creates a visual effect that puts more weights and volumes on Xiao Yong, especially with the dull and stale green serves as the dominant color in the image. Therefore, Xiao Yong is the person who has subjectivity. We can tell that from his gestures as well. Let's talk about Xiao Wu and his almost lover Mei. Xiao Wu is a person who lives in the past. His teenage soul lives in an adult body, making his childish behavior reasonable. The way Xiao Wu plays with his jacket in front of Mei shows his immature personality. Just like a naughty child, trying to show off his ability of making Mei feel better, he doesn't understand why Mei feels uncomfortable. He doesn't understand the modernized society. He doesn't understand why his friends left him alone. Xiao Wu is an outsider. In this sequence, Xiao Wu and Mei are sitting together. The window at the back is the main resort of lights. We can tell many colors in this scene. The light-colored floral quilt, turquoise dress hanging on the wall, and pale pink curtains. Considering Mei's job and identity, the mise-en-scene is realistic. Xiao Wu's red sweater vest is the most eye-catching focal point of the entire scene, so as the red package Xiao Wu gives to Xiao Yong in last sequence we've seen. Jia doesn't always use high-contrast color palettes in his films. He tends to create more harmonized and uniform color schemes, sometimes with the highlight of color of high chroma, red or red-related colors. Ash's Purest White, Chinese titled Jianghu is Jia's most recent released film. Unlike his other films, Ash's Purest White focuses on female protagonist Qiao, played by Zhao Tao, who is familiar for Jia's audience. Qiao initially is a girlfriend of a local gangster boss named Bing. She devotes all her love to Bing and willingly being the woman behind the man. After many affairs and commas, and Qiao's 5-year sentence in jail for Bing, Qiao and Bing separate. Qiao decides to be a tough, independent woman who takes care of Bing as a nerd friend after all. This film is controversial because of its feminist intervention. Some discussed this idea in 2019, shortly after the film's worldwide release. Some described Qiao's relentless story as a modern feminist saga. However, some indicated that Qiao's story is also paradoxical, which can be seen from Qiao's character development. Modernization leads to Qiao's awakening, while taking her straightforward, rebellious personality away. During the attack of Bing by rivalry, Qiao risks herself for Bing, scaring the attackers away with Bing's pistol. Without any music and life, the sequence still holds massive power to make the audience feel touched. Qiao reverses the trope of vulnerable femininity, which is common in melodramatic films Jia made before. The pink, semi-transparent jacket has such beautiful texture under the dim lighting at night, correspondingly blend in with the background color. This sequence reminds me of another famous director who's known for his aesthetics of color, Wang Kar-wai. The greenish-yellow lining covers the image with a veil, emphasizing character's skin texture, effectively highlights the color consistency. The selected use of color offers a sense of vintage, helping the spectators resonate with the characters, providing immersive experiences in specific time setting. But why green and yellow make us think of vintage? Press and Van Louis explained in their 2002 visual communication study, our perceptions of color are systematically produced. regardless of self-identification or any sense of community, and they form a grammar during the process of communication, which means they have underlying intertextuality that can be universally comprehended. One last filmic element I want to mention is the geographical features. According to Camille Ollueta and Manuel Valdez, the screening of particular geographical appearance can boost the local tourism and economy. It simultaneously delivers spatial messages and traits to the spectator. Films with exterior sceneries can alter filmic practice. They are also evidence of constantly evolutionary cinematic skills. Thus, films are just the most appropriate example of how filmic space could influence the mood of films. Shanxi Province is a relatively undeveloped and blocked place. It is a province of heavy industry, especially famous for its coal mining, the gloomy skies and dusty air of Shanxi in the previous films. Although Jia is often being considered as the director of Western curiosity, because some say Jia's films always present the less developed side of China, which is a fulfillment of Western fetishization. As I discussed before, Jia is using his own style to tell an unofficial story, which seems to be stigmatizing. But he is filming his personal memories and experiences. That's why I find Jia's work fascinating. Jia revives Shenxi in my memories in a cinematic approach. Films make memories easily accessible. Film is a way of tribute to his hometown for Jia. As a filmmaker, film conveys his nostalgia. As a person who must left his hometown for better opportunities, film holds his style's power.